I don't like the way my spouse parents or disciplines my child. I don't like the way I discipline their child. Their child is disrespecting me and they don't say anything. Family, I'm Renee J, and this is the Mom's Way. So today we're going to talk about how to successfully blend your family. I think there are an influx of blended families happening right now, but I'm on a lot of forums and a lot of people are like, look, I need help with blending this family because it's so many different moving pieces, dynamics, backgrounds, just so much that goes into two people who have children from different relationships successfully blending not only themselves but their children as well. So let's talk about what has worked for our family. So if you don't know, we have 5 children total. One is grown, and he was grown when we got married. So that's interesting, right? We have 2 teenagers, preteen, and then we have one child together that is a toddler. So we have all the age groups. So much going on. We're in our 5th year of marriage. We will celebrate 5 years this year, and we have gone from the struggle with blending our family to this place where it's all working out. We have a lot of work still to do, but these tips have helped us get to a place where we are today. So let's talk about it. So the first thing I can say honestly about blending your family is communication. Communication. And honestly, that communication needs to go with your spouse. It is, in my opinion, the biological parent's duty to figure out the hard topics that come with the child. And what I mean by this is, if there's something that's going on with my bonus son, my husband and his son's mother need to have that conversation and figure out what's best for their child. I, as the spouse looking in, have to know that my husband, whatever decisions or thought process or things that he is bringing to the table, is what's going to be best for us, because he is my partner. So in him being my partner, his thought process is going to have me in mind, but it has to also be what's best for that child. So I don't call my bonus son's mother and give her my 2 cents, because when it comes to things of that child, the hard conversations or topics, or just the things that parents really have to work out together, it's between my husband and her. Okay. And I have to know that what my husband's bringing to the table, his thought process and all of that, has me in mind, has our family dynamic in mind, right? He's not going to say something or do something that's completely left from how we are, but we have become so in sync that what he's bringing to the table already has me in mind. I hope that makes sense. So, I've had situations to where with my son, his stepmother has tried to like communicate with me and like make decisions with me without his father being involved, and I was like, no. No, like, I'm gonna talk to him. So when he has that conversation with me, he needs to have, you and y'all family and y'all thought process and y'all dynamic. Y'all could talk about it in pillow talk, but then I'm gonna have the conversation with him. And that's kind of how I have come. That's kind of how I navigate being the step parent as well, because I know, for me being the mom in the situation, I know what works best for me. And honestly, it's all about respect, right? Making sure that respect is still there for the other child's parent that you're not in a relationship with. Because just because that relationship didn't work does not mean that now that person is a non-factor, because actually they are a very huge factor, and you weren't there when they was making that child. So you have to allow them to communicate reasonably and make decisions for their child together, and you have to support. Number 2, support your spouse in that. So don't give your spouse a hard time when it comes to doing things for their child and being there for their child and going to sporting events for their child and communicating with their child and picking their child up and being a parent to that child. Don't give your spouse a hard time, because you would want that for your children. You would want that for the children that you guys share. So if my husband buys my bonus son a pair of shoes or cleats or something, whatever, I can't be like, why are you doing it? Whatever. Because when our children need something, when our daughter needs something, it's expected that, if I don't get it, he gonna get it. So why wouldn't that be the same case when it comes to that child, whether they're in your home or not? So that's a huge thing too, is supporting that other parent, is being happy when they're happy about things that happen with their child, about allowing them that space to grow as a parent, because this relationship with you and them might be the first time that they're not in the home with their child. It might be a totally different dynamic, and that could be a pain point. When my husband and I first got married, my bonus son lives with us, and my husband had actually had him for 6 years. He was a single parent for 6 years, and his son was in his home. And then when we got married, my bonus son actually decided to move back with his mom, and that was the first time in 6 years, okay, that he had done that. And my husband had the hardest time with that. He had a hard time because he'd always had a son, he always had him with him, but it was the child's decision. He had never had that, home time with his mom, and he wanted it. He was a teenager. He wanted to be with his mom, and that was okay. It was really hard. It was a pain point for my husband, and because it was a pain point for him and it was something that he wasn't really dealing with, it led to a lot of arguments. And it wasn't arguments over the child, it was arguments because it was a soft spot for my husband. It really was. He never was in this place where he hadn't had the baseball or the football game being right down the road. Now he has to travel to the football game. Or he never was in a place where he didn't wake up and his son was in the other room. He had to now call his son and communicate with him that way, and just have a different dynamic of their relationship, where before it was just like he was down the hall, seeing him every day at the breakfast table, whatever. It was a different dynamic. So give your spouse some grace, because this might be the first time that they actually don't have the child in their home. It might be a different dynamic. They're trying to figure it out. And in them figuring it out, there is this pain point where anytime you say something, or even say the child's name sometime, or bring something up, it might cause an argument. Yeah, we've argued in the most beautiful places, okay? But it's worth the conversation. It's worth getting through, because on the other side of that, they know that you support them, they know that you love them, they know that you love that child, and they know that you're going to be there for them as they try to navigate this new dynamic of parenting. So the third thing is actually going to be to allow them to parent. So I have been in a lot of forums, I have heard a lot of communication about I don't like the way my spouse parents or disciplines my child, or he doesn't like the way that they discipline my, they don't like the way I discipline their child, or their child is disrespecting me and they don't say anything, or I feel disrespected by the child's mother and they don't say anything. And these are all things that come in time. I'm being really transparent in this video. That's because we're at a different place. And the only way to really get through these relationship struggles are to be transparent and honest about it. So, we've had all of those situations where I was wrong, my husband was wrong, we had to grow through them. So as far as one parent not liking how the other parent disciplines their child, we've had those conversations, because my husband is a man and I am a woman. So of course I coddle and it's okay. And I am tough, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, it's really not that bad. You're fine, whatever. So when he's tough on the boys, because we have boys, I would be like, I don't like you talking to them like that. I don't like it. I feel like I'm always worried about like how they feel. I feel like it's gonna affect them and how they feel as a person, as a young man, and blah blah blah. And then I would see the child and they would just be like normal, because they don't care, right? To them, their parents fussing at them, and it's fine. So I would realize that it's me. I was the issue. Because I wasn't as tough on them, or I didn't talk to them, or my voice isn't that deep. He was hurting my feelings because he was talking to my baby that way, but not necessarily, he wasn't hurting the child, So that was something that was on me, and I had to be like, okay, my bad. I'm gonna mind my business, and I learned to mind my business. Now, he's not disrespectful. He's not beating these kids or anything like that. But he's a man. He has expectations for them. He expects them to do the things that they're supposed to do: clean their room, help around the house, get good grades, things of that nature. Respect your mother, and I have learned to step back, because my husband's parenting style is not very different from my parenting style. It's just a different person. And I want them to be parented by him. I want him to feel comfortable in that role. And he said, well, I just kind of fall back. And I'm like, no, don't fall back. Get them. Parent them. Be their dad, because you are. And it's not just financially. It's everything. Parenting and discipline comes with it. So I had to learn as a parent, as a mother, to fall back and just kind of mind my business. Because if I want them to respect him, I can't jump in every time. And then we've also had a situation where, the bonus child, I just felt like I would ask him to do things and to move, and to move his body, go get your sister. Can you wash those 3 dishes that's in there? Little things, and he just wouldn't move. Just would come in the house and not say anything. And it got to a point where I was telling my husband, can you tell him to do this? Because if I tell him, he's not going to do it. He tell him to do this because if, I'm not in the mood today. And then I realized that the same way I want my husband to parent my children, when you're here, it's on me to do the same thing for you. So I'm not the type that go to the dad, I'm going to tell your dad all the time. But I'm not here to check a child either, because I'm an adult. I'm going to talk to the adult. So I actually went to my husband and I said, look, I need help. I need you to verbalize, because children do what they feel they can get away with. And if you are not saying anything when you see these things are happening, maybe you're just not paying attention to it. But if you're not saying anything when you see these things are happening, it's never going to get better, because it's assumed that it's okay. And he actually called him up and was like, hey, look, this my, now I wasn't in the room. I was listening though. But he was like, look, this is my wife. You're going to respect her. If she asks you to do something, then you need to do it. This is my partner in life, and period. And after he had that conversation with him, things have completely changed. He speaks, he's good. If I ask him to do something, he does it. And, it's never been an area of disrespect. It was just small, subtle, I'm good. Now, I am a firm believer that that parent has to go to that child and kind of reel them in. It might be a little bit different with girls, because then you gotta, if it's not a respect factor of the parent, the other parent as well, it's a problem. But the biological parent verbalizing the importance and the expectations, and that's kind of it. The expectations to that other child is what's necessary. So when we got married, I laid my expectations out early. I said, look, he's not your father, understood, but you will respect him. He's my husband. He's going to be in our house. He's going to be part of our family. And that I laid that groundwork from day one. And I just kind of wasn't done on the other way, because I'm a very upfront, I'm going to let you know early person. And it just kind of wasn't that way on the other end, because he's just not that person. But when I asked him to do it or do something, he did, and things have changed. And I think the children seeing that we're both on board is what's changed the dynamic overall. Now, let's talk when there's not this civil parenting, co-parenting situation. It's difficult. So for my husband's side, I've never seen, we've been married we're in our 5th year of marriage. I met his son's mother last year for the first time. Now I had asked multiple times to meet, let's go to Starbucks, have a conversation, especially when the child was in our home. And it just never happened, and I had to just let it go. And let it be. And then over time, I think it's this thing of realizing that you're not going away. You're part of the family. You're going to be around. So now I can trust you're going to be here and part of this, because, people get married, but then people get divorced. So, but now once they realize that, okay, you're going to be here, you're okay, it kind of changes people dynamics. So we had a birthday party together, and it was just all good. But then there's other situations like my son. We just are oil and water. Like, have always been, will always be. I honestly say it's just a reason for my son to be here, because none of that should have happened. None of it makes sense, and none of it should have happened. But there's a reason for him, that child, to be here, and he is. So when they're little, it's a little bit more difficult, because you have to drop off, you have to pick up, you got to see that person, you got to try to navigate and figure out. And I don't have anything through the court, but I would say if it's really difficult and you just cannot deal with that other parent, then get it through the court, get visitation or mediation, because honestly, those are things that help with, you're going to go to this place at this time and drop the child off. And then you're going to pick the child up at this place at this time. And that this is how much you're going to provide for care. You really don't have to deal with that other third party person on nothing. And honestly, sometimes that's what is needed. If you just can't figure it out. Also, use the grandparents, right? A lot of times they just want their child to be able to see the other child, and they will help. Once they get older, right? So my son is older, then it's like this place where I just don't have to be involved. Here's a cell phone. You can call him. You can communicate with him. You can FaceTime him. You can have a relationship with him. I don't need to be involved at all. And that's kind of where we are at this point in the game. And I really do appreciate it, because you got to call him. Don't call me. You can call him. You can have a communication with him. Y'all can do whatever, when it's like, can I see him? Can I get him? Can I, those things we do have to communicate on. But I say, take it easy, take a breath. And for me, I will only text. And I know it's frustrating on the other end, because I guess I just want to have a communication. But one, it's just a lot easier. You have that paper trail, and you don't get so much in your emotions. You can make rational decisions when you're texting, when you're reading, instead of hearing that other person and going round and round and round. So I don't want to argue. I don't really want to even give a lot of energy to that situation. So I will only text, and that works with me. And I say all this to say, not to bash anything or anyone, but to say, one, what you guys see on social media is not always the case, right? People have things going in the background that you don't know. There is no one with a perfect situation. And then two, co-parenting is difficult. Like 90% of how co-parenting and blending is going to be is how that other person in the situation is acting, their thought process, their mental. And that's why I say now, we have to really decide who we finna have kids with, because y'all, it's the struggle, and it can really be the struggle. But just keeping communication open is a huge thing. And sometimes, right, even with the biggest tips, it's still difficult, because how the other relationship ended really does affect your relationship, and how that person and what they will do when it comes to co-parenting. If it was really bad, if there's super love lost, if the child is young, y'all, if the child is young, it's gonna be the struggle. And that's why I say, just try, keep communication open, give your spouse or partner the support that they need. Don't be emotional, whatever your role. I play the role as the mother with the biological child. I also play the role of the step parent where my husband has a biological child with someone else. Don't allow emotions to go into your thought process. And then time, right? Time, it takes time. It really, really does. It takes time for the children to see that you're someone, because they've seen their parents in other relationships. They've seen people come and go, right? Especially the oldest. Like, my son was 17 when I had him, so he's seen all of my relationships, all of them. Well, all the people I brought around, the real relationships, anyway. But give them time to realize that this person is not going anywhere. This person is going to be part of their life. And that will help build the trust factor. Allow the children to get to know one another on their own level. I used to try to force it, like, y'all need to be friends. Y'all playing the same video game in different rooms. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I had to realize I gotta mind my business. They will come around, and just like any other, my brothers, we were not close as kids, but as adults we are. So you just gotta give it time. It's gonna come together, and then pray about it. Y'all got to take it to God. Like, I remember when I first had my whole situation with my middle son, I couldn't do nothing but pray about it because I didn't know what to do. And I was at the toughest time in my life and trying to figure out my life. I was a single mom with 2 kids, and it was a new situation for me. And I just had to pray, and that's all I could do. And now that the situation has presented itself, that's all I can do is just pray. I said, God, I don't even know how to deal with this sometimes, but at the end of the day, I know you know how it's going to work out, and I just have to bring it to you. And that's it. And it keeps everything in line and balance for me. So just pray about it. Things that you don't understand, things are just not working out, no matter what you do, it just always seems like confusion and craziness. Just pray about it. Just take it to God. And if you're not religious, journal about it. Like, just get the thoughts out so you're not harboring it and you're not allowing it to make an impact on how you feel and how you're dealing with them. So I really do hope that these tips or this thought process has helped. It is a long, hard journey, but it's worth it to see how our kids interact, how we interact with our kids, how our stepchildren or our children interact with us now. It's worth it because I know, y'all, we were at a marriage retreat walking around a beautiful lake fussing, okay? Fussing. So, I know where we started and all the work that we put into. And then once we get to this place where things are comfortable, the kids are good, they're at this place of like starting true relationships with us and with one another, we know that it's only going to grow from here, and just to see how our kids are going to be from years to go, years to come once we get grandkids and all these things. It's going to be so exciting. And it's because we put the work in the beginning. It wasn't like throw up our hands, I'm done with this because the kids. Y'all, don't let these kids ruin your relationship. So if you love that person and you marry them and you want to be with them and you know this is the person for you, y'all going to have to figure out the kids. But your relationship is your relationship is your relationship. And don't let no one, not even your children, ruin that intentionally. It's different when there's something really bad that happened and you just got to walk away. But honestly, a lot of stuff is just in our mind. Like I told you guys, I ain't like how my husband had talked to the kids that one day. And I was just like, I feel some type of way. But then I realized it was just me because, like I said, you talk to them worse than that. And I'm like, you right. I was just in my feelings, my bad. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. We are going to I'm going to crank out some more relationship videos in February because February is all about relationships. And I took the first 2 weeks off because... But make sure you guys head over to Instagram and check me out there. Follow, join that community because I'm way more active. It's just a lot easier to get the information out that way. And I will see you guys in the next video and or vlog. Bye.